Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, the Dodgers lose 2-3 in Tampa Bay. It was a wild game on Sunday, come from behind win on Saturday, and the longest outing by a starting pitcher on Friday, but it wasn't necessarily good. We're going to get into a lot of starting pitching talk, some offense talk, some bullpen talk. So that's what's on tap, so make sure to keep it Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. This is a daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. And if you never want to miss a day and become a part of the everydayers, all you have to do is subscribe in each or any of those places and get notified when we post a new episode, usually every Monday through Friday before you get up in the morning. Today's episode is coming to you a little bit later, holiday weekend. Jeff is out of town. Which I guess I should introduce myself. If this is your first time listening or watching, I'm Vince Samperio, usually joined by co-host Jeff Snider. Jeff is at his son's baseball tournament this weekend, so I'm filling in for today. And we're here to talk about the Dodgers. Jeff and I are both lifelong Dodger fans that have spent time covering the team, continue to be fans of the team, watch as many games as possible. And we're here, we're not quite insiders, but we're here to bring you what we believe is the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue. And that's what I'm here for today. Like I mentioned at the start of the episode, the Dodgers lost 2 out of 3 to the Rays. It was a close series in general. The Dodgers, Friday's game, they lost behind Noah Syndergaard. Saturday's game, they came from behind and won. And then Sunday's game was an 8:30 a.m. LA local time start. And by the fourth inning, it was 7-7. It was 10-10 in the later innings, and then the Dodgers ended up losing 11-10. So, it wasn't a lost series for the offense once again, but it was a lost series in general. And starting pitching is starting to look not dire for the Dodgers, but it's not looking great. And that's probably where we're going to start off. So you had no quality starts over the weekend from any of the starters. Noah Syndergaard went the deepest. He went 6 innings, but he gave up 6 runs. Clayton Kershaw didn't make it through 6. He gave up, Dodgers' early lead. The Dodgers ended up coming back and helping him out. And then Gavin Stone has continued to struggle. He gave up a lot of runs on Sunday. Ultimately, he was charged with 7 earned runs, 10 hits. He now has an ERA of 14.40 after 3 starts. And after the game, Dave Roberts said it might be time to, I believe the word was reassess, something to that extent. But basically, it's not for sure that Gavin Stone is going to make the next start for the Dodgers in the major leagues. And he's had for you to get called up, you face the Phillies, who are struggling but still have a lineup full of guys that can hit and have been all-stars or beyond in the past. And then you take on, who did he have? Oh, the Braves, one of the best teams in baseball this season. And then you take on the Rays with the number one power offense this season as well. So it understandably, it's been a tough go of it for him. But also, it's, on Sunday, he just had nothing. Like his changeup looked good occasionally, and when he got, it's a matter of location. He was leaving a lot of pitches in the hitting zone or in the strike zone in general, especially the changeup. Now, the changeup is good when it's living off the corners, off the edges, lower part of or not even in the zone, but just lower part of the plate. But he was leaving them a little bit up. He was getting ambushed early on if he did give him fastballs. His stuff looked better on this game, but his command and control didn't, and that's ultimately what got him. The fastball looked good. He got some, swings and misses. He got some swings and misses on the changeup, but he just didn't get enough of them to obviously didn't get enough of them to really make a difference. And by the time the third inning came around, he was no longer pitching. I mean, he had 15 swings and misses, so the stuff was there, was looking better, but he also gave up a lot of hard hit balls, and that's a matter of living too much in the zone in certain areas. And it's a young person's thing. So, I'm not going to fault him. I don't think he's, a ruined prospect. I don't think he's a hopeless prospect. I think he's been brought up in a tough spot. He's flown through the minor leagues the last couple years in general. And, now it's starting to catch up to him that, okay, my fastball is good, but it's not amazing. My changeup is amazing, but not when I'm not throwing it in the right spots. And maybe I need a third pitch in order to help back these guys up off the fastball and changeup. So it's a learning curve. And, hopefully he does learn from this and he's not too bad, in terms of confidence. Dave Roberts said, my thought is he's going to be better for it. I do think that looking back, this was good for him. We wouldn't do this to a player we didn't feel could handle it emotionally. Right now, I know he's down in the dumps, but he'll be all right. Stone said, I think you've got to stay positive. I got to go back, work on fine-tuning some things. And then Freddie Freeman said, we've all taken our lumps in this game. It's going to happen. So we got a lot of confidence in him. Throwing him out there again, especially when his next start is supposed to be against the Yankees, is probably not the most ideal situation. I would imagine, based on how Bobby Miller does tonight, I would imagine that Michael Grove comes back and takes Gavin Stone's spot in the rotation, at least for the next one or two times through. Stone will go down, maybe work on some things, and maybe be ready to come back after that. The bad part about that is that, Michael Grove coming back would solve for maybe a little bit better performance than Stone, but Noah Syndergaard is still out there, and Noah Syndergaard is going to have to stick around at least a couple more times through the rotation. He gave up 6 runs. He did go 6 innings, but he gave up 6 runs, and he's still trying to figure it out. And he was crucial, or not crucial, but he was pretty down on after his start. He said, "There's not a lot of positive emotion right now when I think about pitching in particular. It's just hard going out there with the weapons you used to have kind of being taken away from you, and throwing what I'm possessing right now is not enough to successfully battle a team like that. But I'll just continue to work my butt off in between starts to snap out of this." He says, I think everyone around here knows I'm the most determined person to get back where I used to be. I just haven't been the same since I had my setback when I was coming back from Tommy John. Still working through that and just maintain a positivity and come in ready for work. Obviously, I feel bad for Noah Syndergaard. Clearly he believes that there's his stuff from the past in there somewhere, but he can't unlock it. But feeling bad for him doesn't necessarily mean, that gives him a pass for anything, that anything and everything in terms of he's not good right now. And the Dodgers can't afford, or I guess they could technically, but realistically can't afford to have a guy go out every 5 days giving up 5+ runs, even if he does give them 6 innings out of it. Now, obviously, the Dodgers offense has been on a roll lately, and in theory, that could still be passable. Like he could go up and get 6 innings, 5 runs every game, and the Dodgers would, be able to make do with it, I guess. But ideally, that's not what you want. And in a perfect world where Julio wasn't hurt, where Pepio wasn't hurt, where Dustin May wasn't hurt, and then Stone and Miller, we probably wouldn't have even seen them yet. Noah Syndergaard would probably have 1 or 2 starts left before the Dodgers just end up cutting bait. They don't have that. Now, the one way this can go in positive direction is that Syndergaard does somehow unlock some of that stuff, or at least 80% of what he used to be, and ends up being a decent pitcher after that. But it's not likely. And for the Dodgers' sake, they can't get on much longer having this much issues in the rotation. So, what can they do in the rotation? That's what we're going to get into next. But first, we're going to talk about Built Bar because today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious snack, but don't want all the sugar and calories, then you need the best tasting protein bar ever. That's Built. You got to try this. If you're like me and want to make healthier snack choices, but you don't want to compromise on taste, Built Bars and Built Puffs are perfect for you. They're healthy. They taste amazing. You would think you're eating a candy bar, but you're eating a protein bar that's low in sugars and low in carbs and high in protein. So go check it out. They're all covered in 100% real dark chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. They come in great flavors: churro, peanut butter brownie, cookies and cream. They got different flavors throughout the year that pop up seasonally. They got a bunch of great flavors that are, part of the normal rotation. And they're great macros. They got 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar with a big time 17 grams of protein. And you don't need to wait to get a box. You can always go to built.com and get yourself a box. But you can also go to your local Walmart or Sam's Club and get flavors there, get a box there. Head to the pharmacy section at your local Sam's or Walmart and get yourself a box of Built Bars. They got, 4-bar boxes. They got maybe some 13-bar boxes there. So go check it out right now. And you can thank us later. All right. Thanks for sticking around. Make sure to subscribe and become an everydayer by listening every day and by being a part of that exclusive club. We thank you if you're already part of that everydayer club. You're really appreciated. If you want a way to listen to the game, if you can't catch it on TV, remember SiriusXM or the SXM app. You can always search Dodgers and get the home broadcast for every game. You can also find Locked On Dodgers on there if you search Locked On Dodgers. So go check that out. Dodgers play tonight, 6:10 LA time. Bobby Miller on the mound against the Nationals. If you can't watch SiriusXM, SXM app, search Dodgers. All right, so what can the Dodgers do at starting pitcher? There's not too many options at the moment. Noah Syndergaard will have to stay in the rotation. Gavin Stone likely out of the rotation. Michael Grove inserts himself back into that rotation, and you go from there. And Bobby Miller gets at least one or two more times through the rotation until Julio comes back. I think at this point in the season, the way the Dodgers are going, depending on what their thoughts on innings or whatever was for Miller and Stone, I think they'd rather give starts to Noah well, in the grand scheme of things, they'd rather give starts to Syndergaard if it prevents them from having to keep Stone or Miller in the rotation too long if they don't think they're ready to handle the rest of this season. Now, let's just say Bobby Miller is a stud and continues to give the Dodgers 5-6 innings every time out, lower ERA, and looks like a guy that belongs in the majors. I do think they'd keep him around long enough in order to maybe outlast Noah Syndergaard, assuming other people, either get healthy or the Dodgers somehow make a move. We're in May 29th. We still got all of June, all of July before realistically the Dodgers are going to get some reinforcements from the deadline. Because a lot of teams, especially in the National League, there's every team is within like 5 games of a playoff spot, if I'm not mistaken. And in the American League, there's some bad teams, but they don't necessarily have too much for the Dodgers, or if they're not ready to give up yet. So on the trade market, there's not a lot of options right now, unless the Dodgers want to drastically overpay. Just because the reality of the situation is teams aren't ready to decide on what their season is yet. When it comes to free agency, there's not a lot left. I would imagine the Dodgers can, probably make do. If guys get DFA'd here and there in the next couple weeks, they might be able to take a flyer on a guy and give him 1 or 2 spot starts just in order to fill some innings. But realistically, I'd rather just have Bobby Miller throw or even Gavin Stone. I want Gavin Stone to go down and have a couple starts in the minors and, figure out what exactly he's going to need when he comes back up to the majors. but I'd rather have him than some random guy that they find off they got DFA'd. Madison Bumgarner's name's been mentioned on social media before by some Dodger fans. I don't think that just doesn't work for a variety of reasons, and one of those reasons is he's not good. And that's probably the main reason, and the second co-main reason is no, he wouldn't fit. I don't know, but no, Madison Bumgarner. The Dodgers, if they're gonna do this, they're gonna get it done with what they already have. And if it gets into July, then what they can bring to the team. And it's obviously going to be contingent on a lot of things. Clayton Kershaw's had 3 straight starts that weren't that great. Is he hasn't thrown a full season since what, 2015, 2016 maybe, where he's thrown, over like 25 starts. Realistically, he already felt some fatigue over his last 2 starts before the start on Saturday, he looked good in the beginning, kind of fell apart a little bit after that. The Rays are a good hitting team, and we weren't sure exactly how good the Rays were, but they're good enough to beat on bad pitching. Syndergaard, they got him for 6. Gavin Stone, they were throwing lasers all over the field. They're a good hitting team. I don't think they're fluky at all. And Kershaw, he got through the first few innings looking good. Just wasn't able to hold that lead once the Dodgers got up a couple runs. But I think he was fine. But realistically, he may need an IL stint at some point this season, whether it's for fatigue, whether it's for his back flares up at some point, or something to that nature. So you're gonna need probably a couple starts away from Kershaw at some point. With Julio Diaz, he suffered I guess, I don't know if a setback, but he still has that pain in his hamstring. He didn't throw off a mound, didn't throw a bullpen this weekend like he was supposed to. He's going to miss at least one more start. And hopefully it's only one more start. Then the Dodgers can get a little bit, under their feet with some of the starting pitching stuff. Because if it's not, if he doesn't come back, they're going to have to keep trotting out. They're going to have to keep Bobby Miller in the rotation, bring Michael Grove into the rotation, and then they're going to need to keep Noah Syndergaard out there every 5 days. So not an ideal situation, but that's where we're at. So, it's contingent on Julio. Tony Gonsolin's been just kind of a guy, not great, not bad, just kind of there. Hopefully he can continue to get stronger as we continue to move forward, become more efficient, find what he did last year. He's still good at preventing runs. He just hasn't been very efficient. And for the Dodgers at this point, with the way the offense is going and the way the starting pitching has been going, they can maybe sacrifice a little bit of success for some length. Now not as much as going 6 innings but giving up 6 runs like Syndergaard did on Friday. But maybe giving up 3-4 runs, but you get 6 innings. That's probably a sweet spot the Dodgers want to live in. Their bullpen is still somewhat inconsistent at this point, just for the fact that they've been used a lot over the last few weeks, and that's not always an easy task. Phil Bickford's had to wear some of it. He's had some struggles over the last 2 weeks. Justin Brule had to go multiple innings. He's had to wear some of it and struggled a little bit over the last couple weeks. Caleb Ferguson's not struggled, but he has given up some runs over the last couple weeks. And then Yency Almonte's actually looked really good. 4 straight outings that have been no runs. Brusdar Graterol hasn't allowed a run in like 4 outings. The main guys are still good. Shelby Miller's look good. Evan Phillips look good. Yency Almonte, Brusdar Graterol, even Victor Gonzalez forgot to cover first. That kind of hurt the Dodgers on Sunday. But overall, he's looked fine, other than the home run that he gave up in St. Louis. Yeah. So all in all, it's going to be a collective effort for the Dodgers starting pitching. There's not many options out there in the trade or free agent market right now. They don't necessarily have too many options left once they bring back Michael Grove and Gavin Stone goes down, in terms of them calling someone up, unless they just want to shoot someone up that's not in AAA, but someone from AA maybe That's possible. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but you never know. So the main thing for the Dodgers right now is to get Julio back, to get Stone down to work on a couple things, to get Grove back. Noah Syndergaard can maybe unlock something or at least be what he was last year, like a 4 ERA guy instead of a 6.7 ERA guy. Kershaw hopefully remain healthy, get over this fatigue that he had, or get back to where he was at the start of the season. And Tony Gonsolin to figure out some efficiency. So it's not, you know, a it's not the most glowing thing. It's not the most glowing part of the Dodgers right now. It's not the most ideal situation. It's not something that we're like, oh yeah, there's an easy path to get them where they want. No, the path is guys get healthy, guys start pitching better. That's really the only path right now. But the Dodgers have the guys to do it. It's just a matter of doing it. So we're gonna finish up with some offensive talk. That's what's on tap. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. All right, we are back. And real quick, Max Muncy exited the game on Sunday after pulling up a little lame going towards second base on a error that was made when he was rounding the bases. He ended up staying in the game, was able to get to third base, was able to score on a sac fly, but then came out of the game right after that. They called it a left hamstring cramp. Dave Roberts said that he hoped he'd be fine. He's expected to get an MRI today on Monday, and we'll see what goes from there. Obviously, the Dodgers don't need it to be anything more than a cramp. Anything that jeopardizes Max Muncy hamstring wise that gets him out of the lineup is not good. Even though he had been struggling, Muncy started picking it up the last two games, had a few home runs, was starting to look like, a few hits, was starting to look like, Max Muncy. And losing him right now, wouldn't be the end of the world. The Dodgers still have enough guys to compete offensively, and they might get Michael Busch back up in the majors. But realistically, the Dodgers don't want to see Max Muncy on the injured list. But over the weekend, the Dodgers offensively weren't bad. They put up 10 runs yesterday with a bunch of home runs. Chris Taylor had a couple home runs. JD Martinez had a couple RBI. Trace Thompson finally broke his 0 for streak and got 3 hits on Sunday, and then got pinch hit for in the last inning. So the Dodgers aren't terribly confident that he's all the way back, but it was good to see him get a hit. Clayton McCullough at first base was excited for him. The dugout was excited for him. I still don't think, this game, unless it leads to him being a more consistent offensive threat, this game is not going to be enough to save him. It might buy him an extra week. But if he goes right back to where he was before, or let's just say they give him some more at-bats, and he goes right back to where he was before, I don't think it saves him. I think realistically what's saving him is the Dodgers don't like bringing up prospects if they're not going to play on a consistent basis. For what it's worth, Johnny DeLuca, ever since moving up to AAA, has been on fire and hitting lefties, hitting righties. He's been one of the best parts of the OKC Dodgers offense. And, I just don't know how long they can keep him down there if he continues to hit this way. So he's hitting in AAA 333 with a 990 OPS. He's got 3 homer, 12 RBI, 3 doubles, a triple, just 10 strikeouts and 51 at-bats. He's been good. And, obviously the Dodgers wouldn't want to call him up and, start him once a week maybe, and maybe a couple pinch hit opportunities. But if it gets down into, June, July, even into August, and the Dodgers are in a pennant race and Trace Thompson is not hitting, if they don't acquire anybody else at the deadline, or if it's before they acquire someone from the deadline, I would like to see what Johnny DeLuca can do and see, can this guy, at the very least, when you call up a guy, it can go usually one of two ways. They're just not ready and they're not good and they're bad and, they can't hit, which is what we saw from guys a few years ago, like, DJ Peters, Luke Raley, who friggin' just not destroyed, but had a really good series against the Dodgers this weekend. They keep getting beat by guys that didn't fit. The Dodgers helped them out by trading them, and then they don't help the Dodgers out by being bad when they face them. Luke Raley, Kyle Farmer, two names to be exact in the last couple weeks that were kind of pains in the Dodgers side when they played them. But either way, or you can get, a guy like James Outman, who's really, really, really hot for at least, a couple weeks into a month until they start figuring him out. And then, then it becomes a war of attrition of, okay, I figure you out, you figure me out, I figure you out, you figure me out. And if that's the case, there's no reason to not bring up DeLuca. If you can get that side of it, where if you get maybe at least a month of production out of him, and then, teams start figuring him out, and then he has to go back to the drawing board and make adjustments. The Dodgers, can afford to do that, especially if it's like, early July. They know realistically they're probably going to get somebody that could replace him on the roster, or, not replaces him, well, I guess directly, but replaces somebody as a starter, and everyone gets pushed down a spot, and that pushes him out. So we'll see. But John DeLuca, a name to keep an eye out for. Like I said, Trace Thompson did get 3 hits, but don't know exactly what that means. Is it going to be lead to more offensive threat at the plate, or was it just one of those games where he was facing the lefty that was throwing a lot of balls in the zone, wasn't throwing that hard, and he took advantage of it? I don't know. We'll see. But offensively, the Dodgers, like I said, 10 runs on Sunday. They came back and put up 6 on Saturday, and then Friday they only put up 3, and the game was already a little bit out of hand. No Syndergaard. When your starting pitcher puts you down early in the game, it's kind of tough. The Dodgers have done a good job of battling back a few times, but you can't always battle back. So, but offense kind of been carrying the Dodgers in the stretch. Obviously, going 4-6 on this road trip, it's not a lot of success, but the Dodgers could have been worse off if they had gone back to, or if if they'd only scored 3 or 4 runs a game, which is, 4 runs a game isn't terrible, not great, but if they had gone to scoring 4 runs a game this whole series, they would have lost a couple more games than they ended up winning. So, but yeah, the offense. Nationals in town this weekend. They're not facing Mackenzie Gore. They're not facing Josiah Gray, I don't think, which are the 2 best pitchers on the Nationals. So they should be able to keep that offense up and rolling. They get to face Patrick Corbin on Wednesday, who's been better this year, but is still Patrick Corbin. So that can get him going, especially in a game where Syndergaard is supposed to start opposite him. You might need some more offense. So, yeah, offensively, Dodgers have been fine. Pitching wise, we already talked about it. They need some help. Chris Taylor had a big game on Sunday. Hopefully that kind of gets him going a little. I mean, he's been good recently. I think he's OPSing over 900 over the last 2 weeks. Still striking out a lot, but if he's productive beyond, when he's not striking out, if he's being productive with the rest of his at-bats, then that's something the Dodgers can work with, and understandably so. JD Martinez continues to be hot. Freddie Freeman continues to be hot. James Outman continues to struggle. He's hitting 114 in the last 2 weeks with an OPS of 379. Not good. It's taking them longer than I thought to kind of figure out. And, he's still getting beat by the high fastball. He's taking a lot more pitches that he should be swinging at. I think he's really in his head right now. He needs, 1 or 2 good games to get that confidence back rolling, because he needs to be confident to swing at balls that are not at the shoulders or, high fastballs. Some guys are trying to give him only high fastballs. If he can lay off those, they're not going to be strikes most of the time, and then get back into the lower half of the zone. And that's where he lives. That's where he thrives. That's where he can be. So again, it's growing pains, but realistically, they need him to kind of start showing some signs of life, because if not, that throws another little wrench into the plans of, okay, what do we need at the deadline? And before, you thought, okay, we only need 1 bat, whether it's a shortstop or a corner outfielder. Maybe now you need, two bats. You might need 2 guys to add to this lineup. So, Outman, figure it out, please. Everyone else, Peralta, get a little bit better. Hayward, get a little bit better. Everyone else. Top order is still doing damage. Mookie's damage is interesting. He's very good with the runners on base. He's bringing some power. He's not necessarily hitting beyond that. But, hey, if you're hitting when runners in scoring position, I'll take that. Even, if you hit 220, normally, but 300 runners in scoring position, I'm okay with that. So, all right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Make sure to check out SiriusXM or the SXM app to listen to the home broadcast for any Dodger game. If you can't watch on TV, all you got to do is search Dodgers. You can also search Locked On Dodgers to listen to us on there, which is how you can find us where we get podcasts, and on YouTube, Locked On Dodgers, which is also how we can be found on Twitter and Instagram. Jeff is on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vince Samperio, or Vincent's91, sorry. DMs are open on any of those accounts if you need to get a hold of us. Questions, comments, concerns. You can also get a hold of us via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be with us when you get in your car. If you're at home, search My Device Play Podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.